When you start squashing the comedians and not allowing comedians to make fun of our leaders, we are heading into a dictatorship very fast.
Big news from the world of late night stunned a lot of people.
Yeah.
Stephen Colbert came on his show, open last night, and said it's over.
But the timing of this actually is terrible, and it's terrible because you had the settlement with Donald Trump, and then you had Colbert and Jon Stewart criticizing that decision. And then a week later, they're saying, oh, unfortunately, we don't have the money to continue this.
Yeah, it definitely seems suspicious, and not just to that show. A lot of people have a lot of theories about why it is that at this time of all times, Stephen Colbert's show is being killed in May of next year. We're gonna get to what Stephen has had to say about this, some of the other reactions, but what was your initial reaction, Cenk, when you first heard this news yesterday?
I'm actually really torn on this, and that's part of why we're doing the poll that we are. So the show's live at 6 o'clock Monday through Friday. So be part of the show. We got the live chat question. Why did CBS cancel Late Show? A, financial reasons. B, to appease Trump. But on our website, tyt.com, we appeasing Trump is much more likely to win, of course. But we have a little bit longer version of it that I like a little bit better. To get their merger approved, A. B, because the show wasn't making money anymore. C, because Stephen Colbert called them out on air, and we're gonna tell you about that in a minute as well. And executives do not like that, generally speaking. And then all of the above. I'm leaning towards all of the above for reasons that I'll explain in a minute, but John, more.
Yeah, and I understand why the executives wouldn't like it being pointed out that they gave a bribe to the president, but I've always thought a great way to avoid that is to not bribe the president.
Yeah, I mean,
seems easy. Don't write the check.
Yeah, if Colbert had like a gratuitous insult of a random executive, hey, you know, the VP in human resources is ugly. You'd be like, okay, yeah, you could take offense at that, right? But after you give an obvious $16 million bribe to the president, your top comic is likely to point that out in his skit, right? Or in his monologue in that case. Of course, that's literally part of his job.
Exactly, and it's what he's been doing for a very long time. But that said, why don't we go to Stephen Colbert? Last night on his show, he announced, I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away. And I do wanna say that the folks at CBS have been great partners. We get to do this show for each other every day, all day. And I've had the pleasure and the responsibility of sharing what we do every day with you in front of this camera for the last 10 years. Now, bear in mind as we start to evaluate why this might be, that The Late Show was the most watched late night show at the 11:35 p.m. hour in terms of total views in the second quarter of 2025. And CBS is being very clear that it has nothing to do with anything except raw business, saying it's not related in any way to the show's performance, content, or other matters happening at Paramount. Our admiration, affection, and respect for the talents of Stephen Colbert and his incredible team made this agonizing decision even more difficult. But that statement, I think it's really suspicious to a lot of people because it has nothing to do with the performance of the show, but it's just financial. But the performance of the show is good. Now, that doesn't mean that it's bringing in a ton of money necessarily, but it's weird to say both of those. I mean, if you're canceling a show just for the money, then the performance clearly was a problem. And then to add in, or other matters happening at Paramount, I mean, as we're gonna get into, I think people can fill in the blanks pretty clearly there. And so they're trying to do this merger with Skydance. And so Donald Trump gets to basically say whether that happens or not. I mean, in a rational presidency, it would be some semi-independent agency, and President Obama, President Biden never would have weighed in on that sort of thing, but Trump 100% will. And so that makes people really suspicious about this, considering especially the Paramount bribe that happened just a couple of weeks ago. And so look, admittedly, ad revenue on late night television has been trending down, and those ad spots are now worth less than they used to. It's, people are watching streaming services and vertical video and all sorts of stuff. But that said, it is still bringing in money. And so it just seems suspicious, especially considering the time and especially considering how criminally sensitive Donald Trump is to criticism, how often he's personally attacked Stephen Colbert, and as you'll see, delighted in this decision, by the way. He didn't play it cool at all. And so that's why I think people have a lot of questions.
Yeah, Maz, you're a comic. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not about the money. If it were about the money, they would. First of all, what are they going to put in place of it? What are they going to put? Like, what's another program that's going to bring more eyeballs to this late hour? What is that? This is your best show. This is a show that is an Emmy-winning show. It is a show that has won several other prizes. I stream it I get my news through it every night. Every night I stream it on YouTube. So it's killing it in the streams. It's obviously the numbers aren't what it used to be because of all the competition and all the other stuff that's happened and how the world is now on streaming. But it is not about the money. It's about him calling them out. It's about them knowing they did wrong, which, by the way, if they really had been, if they weren't guilty of bribing, then they would have allowed him to keep going because they could have laughed it off and been like, oh gosh, Steven's just saying something. But it was actually a settlement we made because there was a real reason for us to make this settlement. It's also openly, it's almost flagrantly a political thing. And the fact that we all know the whole thing with the 60 Minutes and the Kamala Harris and the edit and all that, it's just, as a comedian, I've been on Colbert, and I think you have too, Cenk, and he's smart, he's classy, he's funny, he's an amazing person, amazing host. And as a comedian, when Trump came into power, I knew he was going to come after the late night talk show host. I just didn't know how. I thought it might be like sending the IRS after them. I thought it might be some other thing. But the fact that he's using something like this to have the corporations put pressure on their stars, that again is very authoritarian. That's very, very scary about the future of where America is going. When you start squashing the comedians and not allowing comedians to make fun of our leaders, we are heading into a dictatorship very fast. And if it were about the money, by the way, I guarantee you if they'd gone to Stephen Colbert and said, hey, Stephen, we're paying you X, Y, and Z. It's costing this much. In order to keep these 200 people working, are you willing to do it for a little bit less or find some other ways of profit sharing? He seems like the kind of guy that would have been like, yeah, let's keep it going. And he seems like somebody who enjoys doing it and probably would have gone for another 5-10 years if he could. And my hope is that somehow there's a revolt or a push as the story comes out of people maybe protesting against CBS, maybe boycotting CBS or something to push either the decision to be reversed, which I'm not holding my breath for, or some other network to pick him up. Now, obviously it can't be the majors, but maybe some streamer or something, because he's just too good to not be on air.
Yeah, Maz just made one of the most persuasive points in TYT history. I'm gonna change my vote. I'm gonna explain why in a second, but first, John.
That's amazing. Yeah, look, I imagine that there will be a big revolt because no offense, I don't know why I would ever tune into that channel if it wasn't for Stephen Colbert. And I think that's true for a lot of people, especially people who are on the younger side, much younger than me. And I love your point, Maz. I think there's gonna be a pushback. They can reverse this. And if there's a big pushback and the reason is purely financial, then it makes perfect sense to reverse it. But if you're lying, and it's not financial, and it has to do with the merger, or it has to do with Donald Trump, it really doesn't matter what the pushback is, and you'll never reverse it no matter what. So it's gonna be fascinating to watch how they likely do nothing in the face of what's going to be probably an open revolt from his current fans.
Okay, this guy just got juicier. So I'm now gonna have to create a second account on tyt.com to cancel out my first vote, and then a third one to vote in the right direction. But anyways, and I want to share part of a theory that I'm surprised people aren't talking about more for this story. But that's in a second. But first, why was Maz's point so good? Halfway through, he got me to wonder, yeah, wait a minute, maybe we can say definitely that it wasn't the money. By the end, I was like, you're totally right. So why? Because guys, the last point that Maz made actually ended it. Normally what happens in media is if it's about the money, you renegotiate. It's the #1 show in late night. It's the show that goes most viral for them. In fact, it's the only show that goes viral for them. It is an important and valuable property. A media company, I know, I run this company. A media company doesn't give up an asset that valuable without trying to salvage it. right? You go, okay, Stephen, these are crazy times. We lost half the revenue because of the deterioration of television, et cetera. Stephen, what do you think about taking a pay cut of this or that? Can you do it with 150 staff instead of 200 staff, et cetera? For them to just go, nope, I'm done with it. No, Maz is totally right. It's not about the money. And the other point that he made is, wait, so what else are you going to do in that time slot to make more money? But wait a minute, let's say that you did a syndicated show and it didn't cost you much. And I know the financial dynamics of this, right? So you could put a syndicated show in there, maybe you squeak out a tiny profit, et cetera. But then what are you going to do with the rest of your lineup? If none of it makes money, well, that's part of why they're trying to dump it. But then Skydance, who's buying it, what are you buying it for if some of their most successful shows
just being canceled,
aren't profitable, right? So none of that makes any sense. I'm withdrawing all of the above. It is not the money. Maz is right. So what's the theory on this that we haven't discussed? Maybe it was part of the settlement. Maybe it was just they said to Trump, we'll give you $16 million and Colbert's head. Now, we're not going to write Colbert's head on the document, obviously, right? But we'll make it go away and we'll take out your top critic in late night. I mean, I don't know that to be a fact at all, but it certainly seems plausible, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just think about the chilling effect on other critics of the president that have shows. Like, what if your show, the network you work for, wants to do some sort of deal or doesn't want its broadcast license pulled? Trump declared victory, saying he loves that Colbert got fired, of course. And he says, I hear that Jimmy Kimmel is next. Is Jimmy Kimmel gonna be comfortable providing critical commentary of this regime now?
Or by the way, can I just, one quick thing about that. So it's not that Kimmel will be uncomfortable. Because Kimmel's, I think, done well enough in his life that he'll almost wanna provoke, right? Et cetera. But the show's gonna be uncomfortable. The executive producer is gonna say, but Jimmy, we got 200 people working here.
Yeah, that's
They got families, right? And is ABC going to be uncomfortable? They already paid a bribe to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And why did they do that? They paid him right before their executives are going to have to be deposed. The executives do not want to be deposed in these lawsuits under any circumstance. So they know that if Trump sues, they almost have to settle. So now the company is gonna be like, hey, Jimmy, don't. And even if Jimmy Kimmel does it and he does it for a couple of weeks or a couple of months and then they get rid of him, certainly the next guy isn't gonna do it at all.
Yeah.
Someone without tremendous power and leverage is definitely not going to do it. So this sends a massive chilling effect on all of media. Do not criticize politicians. Your career will be ended.
Yeah, I think we got two powers going against each other. You have the comedians who are gonna want to lean in now and make more fun and criticize Trump more, whether it's on social media, on television, whatever it is. Then you've got the corporations who are going to fear the whatever comes from Trump and the way he bullies using the government, and that might lead to Instagram saying, oh, one of our new policies is no making fun of Trump because we don't want to lose X, Y, and Z license, or we're trying to buy this other corporation. So right now, I think it falls on comedians to lean in more and more. That's what the reason we're comedians is because we like to poke the bear, and we should poke the bear. And as scary as it might be, we got to do it because we need to keep exposing this, because we need to have Stephen Colbert's back in this situation. And yeah, it's a heartbreaking day to see what's happened. And I personally, I remember doing shows in Egypt in it was like 2007, 2008. That's when Hosni Mubarak was still the president. And when we got there, the promoters asked us, they said, do any of you guys have a joke about Hosni Mubarak? And we're like, no, we don't. And he goes, good, because we got a call from the Ministry of Information saying the comedians cannot do any jokes about Hosni Mubarak. And as a matter of fact, a couple months before we got there, some journalist had written an article where he said Hosni Mubarak was looking old these days and they threw him in jail. So we are now closer to Egypt under Hosni Mubarak than we are to a democracy.
Yeah, I got to build off of that because that's such a good point. Because in Turkey, they did the same. Erdogan does it all the time. The current president, he's been slowly killing off democracy. And they did a cartoon about him, banned him. Okay, and then sometimes we'll arrest comics who make jokes about Erdogan. He sued something, I forget if it was a German government or a German publication for running a cartoon about him. Like, by the way, I shouldn't give Trump any ideas. Now he's gonna sue the whole world, right? But if you're on the right and you like Trump and you didn't like Colbert's jokes about Trump, grow up. What did you say before? You said, oh, the stupid left has this cancel culture, right? Oh, they're canceling our jokes. So what?
Legalize comedy.
Yeah, legalize comedy. So should we legalize comedy? Or if daddy's feelings are hurt, should we ban comics? This is textbook cancel culture. They literally canceled them.
Yeah.
It's the most literal thing there is. And I love what Maz is saying. All the comedians out there, go forward. Okay, I mean, hashtag stand with Colbert and make the dirtiest, best jokes you got about Trump and do it again and again and again, or hashtag the North remembers. Okay, but whatever it is, comedians, this is Trump challenging you more than anything on the left ever challenged you, saying if you tell jokes about politicians, we're gonna take away your living. You should not stand for that. You should fight back super aggressively. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets its wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets its wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.